What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Too Much to Watch. I'm your host, Sean. And today we are going to talk about, I think, something that's probably a little controversial within the Star Wars community, as you've probably seen from the title. Today we're going to talk Rise of Skywalker. We are now, 9 months from the release of Rise of Skywalker. We're probably about 6 months from the Blu-ray 4K digital release of it. We've had some time to sit with it, obviously. So, but bringing it back up, there's thousands, millions of YouTube videos related to what people thought of Rise of Skywalker, thought about the newest trilogy as a whole, and today it seems fairly relevant in that some more information's kind of come out about the filmmaking process behind Rise of Skywalker and dare say the latest trilogy as a whole. So, if you're a Star Wars fan and you've been living under a rock, you've probably seen recently Daisy Ridley kind of came out on Jimmy Kimmel Live with guest host Josh Gad. It's a pretty funny episode, by the way. And kind of came out and revealed some kind of insider secrets regarding the filmmaking process behind Rise of Skywalker and some of the she didn't seem like issues, but if you're a Star Wars fan and you have very strong reactions to Rise of Skywalker, there are issues to you. Essentially, and this is all spoilers, again, 9 months, 6 months from releases of this movie. If you don't know what happens in the movie and you care, turn this off. If you don't care or you've seen it, you obviously know her lineage. Rey's lineage becomes or is the granddaughter of the Emperor, who obviously we know is died in the original trilogy. So her lineage, of course, is a powerful Sith Lord. The reveal in the interview was that the lineage changed from time to time throughout the filmmaking process. There was talk of her potentially being a Kenobi. There was talk of her staying a nobody, again, spoilers for The Last Jedi. And it seems as though the internet has been somewhat enraged by that. And for some, I can get it, right? But what we're going to talk about just is more of my personal opinions regarding this this revelation and the trilogy as a whole. Kind of an indictment, and I will try to make this video as short as possible, but definitely an indictment on Disney's purchase of Lucasfilm and some of the issues that go along with it. So, basically, my thoughts are, I don't personally believe The Rise of Skywalker is as terrible as people make it out to be. Or the trilogy, for that matter. You know, let's think back a little bit further. And again, I don't think Rise of Skywalker is a perfect movie by any means, and I don't think the trilogy is perfect by any means. And we'll talk about that. But let's think back to what they tried to do. The Last Jedi caused a massive uproar within the community. And for what reasons? Really think about it. For what reasons? That was the first movie in all movies at that point. We've had 8 when that one came out. That was the first one that really tried to do something different. Yes, you can argue The Empire Strikes Back changed the game as far as sequels go. Definitely kind of flipped the franchise on its head right away from what we got. But this is the first one that really deviates from all that, right? Rey's a nobody. Rey in the first time in the history of the galaxy that we've seen on screen isn't related to anybody of power as a force wielder. She's not a Skywalker. She's not a Kenobi. She's not a Palpatine at this point. So everybody freaked out, right? She's a nobody. Oh, we made this big deal about it. She's a nobody. Forgetting the past, that Snoke was, or Snoke, sorry, it's not Snoke. Snoke was this, was a MacGuffin. He was a nobody either. You know, Kylo was the main villain, because we all had this envisionment of what we wanted it to be. Here's the problem, and this kind of goes back to maybe even a Game of Thrones season 8 reference too. we don't really know what we want. That's the problem with, I think, the Star Wars fandom and the Star Wars critics. We have cemented the idea of Star Wars in our head, but we truly don't know what it is. When they gave us something different in the prequels, we hated it, right? And the prequels by no means are perfect. None of these movies are perfect. Truly, maybe the only one that is perfect is Empire Strikes Back, right? But the prequels try to do something different, but tell you a story right? We hated it. It was poor writing. It was poor acting. It was a lot of things, but we hated it. 20 years later, we all of a sudden have an appreciation for what the prequels tried to do. I recommend going and watching to give you another perspective on specifically Phantom Menace and Anakin's rise. Go watch Dave Filoni's interview on the Mandalorian documentary on Disney Plus, specifically the first episode, and he gives a really great, about 5 to 7 minute speech on what he believes is Anakin's future based on that, and it's really will put the prequels in a different perspective for you. At least for me, it did. And 20 years later, I can appreciate the prequels. But going back to The Last Jedi, we as fans were a massive outcry, and I personally enjoyed The Last Jedi, and I enjoyed where it was trying to go. But we all hated it, right? Everybody hated it. Critically, it was a success. It made a lot of money. Critics loved the movie, but fans hated it. Fans destroyed it. It was getting review bombed on Rotten Tomatoes and anywhere you can go put a review out. We hated it because it challenged the idea of what Star Wars was, and it challenged the idea of where she was supposed to go. To think that every strong force-wielding person in the Star Wars universe has to be related to one of the people is ridiculous. But we cried. We flipped out. We tore it down. What else did you think that the filmmakers on Rise of Skywalker were going to do? They brought J.J. Abrams back because they needed to make it safe. Yes, there are script leaks on Colin Trevorrow's version, and it really did some different things. But what did you think they were going to do? They had to keep the billion-dollar franchise going, and that's no defending of Disney. I think they should have taken a different approach, and I think they should have probably pushed it a little bit farther with those notions. Me personally, I think Rey should have stayed a nobody. The idea, again, that only these 4 or 5 people, these 2 family lines, are the only all-powerful beings is ludicrous. And there's books and there's comics and there's all kinds of stuff in the old Star Wars universe and even now what Disney believes is canon shows you. So taking that with what it was, what did you think Rise of Skywalker was going to be? I don't think Rise of Skywalker is a perfect movie by any means. I think the first 45 minutes moves. It doesn't stop moving, and it introduces all kinds of things. It gives you a lot of nods and winks, like, hey, Lando here, this guy, that guy. And it doesn't continue that new feeling of something different and something challenging to what you know and you love. I think I know John Boyega has recently come out on some negative comments regarding the Star Wars universe and how it treated some of the outlying characters, and specifically Finn. I personally have said to a lot of my friends and family that I think Finn is horribly written. I think the idea of a defecting stormtrooper would have really thrown things on its head and really challenged the norm, and they tried. And they didn't really know, to me, they didn't seem like they knew what they wanted to do with Finn. Finn all of a sudden becomes this background character, this support system for Rey, and he just really ends up running out on things and screaming her name. Go back and watch. I think John Boyega is a wonderful actor, and I think they could have given him a lot more to do, and I don't think they knew what to do with him. They feel like they ended up having to hone in on the Rey and Kylo relationship, Rey's specific lineage, Kylo's issues. And they just had to keep it safe. They had to give you another movie that you liked because we all cried about it. We all flipped out when they tried to do something different in The Last Jedi. We flipped out. We couldn't handle it. So again, I go back to my original statement of what did you think Rise of Skywalker was going to be? I think this franchise can stumble. I think anything can stumble, but the revelations recently that she put out there regarding this in that interview, I've seen numerous people on the internet saying how they were done with Star Wars. We're done with this franchise. Me personally, like, yes, I agree. Rise of Skywalker is not perfect, and this trilogy is not perfect. Specifically, the number one complaint I had on the trilogy is that it's not cohesive. It is not cohesive. Force Awakens becomes too formulaic. It's great, and it's exciting. It's fun Star Wars. It's new characters. It's old characters. It's updated technology. Star Wars is the first time on the big screen in 20 plus years. Like, are you kidding me? But you got essentially a Episode 4 remake in a way. The Last Jedi tries to do something different. We all go crazy, and then Rise of Skywalker becomes what it is. So then we all say, Star Wars is done for me. Well, if that's the way you feel, me personally, I think it's time to move on from Star Wars. Star Wars, to me, is a franchise that will live on and has done a lot for me as far as just giving me good comfort feelings over the years. It's something I love, as you can see behind me, and it's something I can never truly disown. Things can make mistakes and things can stumble, and I'm excited to see what they go forward and do. You know, we all were excited to see the spin-off stuff, and then we weren't. Who wanted to see a Solo? All of a sudden, Solo. Everybody hated Solo because of Rise of Skywalker was Last Jedi was 6 months prior, and then Solo now all of a sudden this cult classic. We want to see a Solo 2. We think the Solo 2 deserves. Star Wars is such a fickle fan base. We don't know what we want, and when we see something we don't like, we scream, and we hoot, and we holler, and we all of a sudden we're all done with Star Wars. Rise of Skywalker is not a perfect movie by any means. It ends a saga, the Skywalker saga, the way it did. Was it ended the way we all wanted it to? Absolutely not. It's time for Star Wars to end. Star Wars, the Skywalker saga needed to end. We got people we knew. We got the Emperor. We got things that we needed to see end. And how it ended, sure, people don't like it. I personally think if you're a fan, things can stumble and things can get better. It seems like Lucasfilms is trying to make the Star Wars franchise right. They're writing, and I haven't read everything, so forgive me, and you can write this in the comments. They're writing great books. They're writing great comics. They're putting out great video games. Go play Jedi Fallen Order. If you have a video game system, it's a wonderful game. It's a great story. Ties into things you know, and it gives a new character some room to breathe, and they're doing some really good stuff at Lucasfilm, and I think they're trying to give you Star Wars. Again, we had real big leaps, real big time gaps between Star Wars, and all we had was the original. All we had was the extended universe books and video games and things like that, and we tried to latch on, and then we get something on the screen again, and this trilogy reminds me of the backlash of the prequels. Now all of a sudden, again, like I said earlier, the prequels are getting this love and this admiration 20 years later because it was George's vision. Now we're saying this about somebody else's vision. Watch The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, Force Awakens, this latest trilogy. Give it some time to breathe. Again, no one's saying the prequels are perfect right now, but give this time to breathe, and I feel like in about 10 years, when we have new Star Wars things to complain about and new books that we don't like in the universe, in the canon, and give us new video games and things to go and critique, and we'll go back and look at this and go, maybe we should have piped down a little bit about The Last Jedi. Maybe we could have gotten something a little different in The Rise of Skywalker. The cohesiveness wasn't there in the writing room, I guarantee, and I know that. We know that now. But is it the worst thing on the planet to like Rise of Skywalker? Absolutely not. At worst case scenario, you got a messy, fun romp through the end of the Skywalker saga. And really, isn't that terrible? Is that so terrible? For some, absolutely. And if you're done with Star Wars, have a great day. Thanks so much for being here, and we appreciate it. And we're going to put out something new. The big money-making machine, Disney's not going to stop. They're putting a pause on things. Maybe you'll get some more Solo. Heck, you're getting a great thing in The Mandalorian. I haven't even talked about The Mandalorian. You're getting good stuff. You're getting more Star Wars than you ever wanted. Is it all going to be wonderful? No. But if you love Star Wars so much, is it okay? Ask yourself, isn't it okay to have something be not as great? A grand exit of the Skywalker saga probably needed something a little better than Rise of Skywalker, but it wasn't garbage. And I guarantee you, give yourself about 10 more years, 5 more years, 3 more years. You might look back and say, it wasn't as bad as I thought. It was a fun romp. That's my thoughts. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear how bad this video is for some, I'm sure. It's a little bit more of a rant than I wanted it to be, but, again, I'm not trying to defend Star Wars and everything in Star Wars is perfect, but it's something I love, something I'm very passionate about. And yes, I think you can still like something and still love something and not have to tear it down. And that's, of course, is the internet. So maybe this video is a little too positive, and that's fine. Let me know what you think. Like, dislike, I don't care. But that's where I'm at. So on this channel, you're going to see some more Star Wars content, I'm sure, in the future. I'll do something related to all the trilogies. I'll do some Mandalorian discussions, some reviews, some thoughts on that. Spoiler alert, the first season's great. Can't wait for season 2. But again, let me know what you think. Thanks for stopping by today. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Peace.